Good evening. We will be getting started here shortly. If you want to make yourself comfortable. Okay, we're going to call the Castle Hills Special City Council meeting to order and determine if a quorum is present. A quorum is present. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Isbrand, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you so much, Mr. Isbrand. We don't have anybody signed up for citizen comments, so we will go straight into the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Mr. May.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent agenda with the addition that was provided for us on the November 8th minutes, substituting Mr. Joyce voting in favor instead of Mr. Paul as indicated in the original minute draft.
Thank you, Mr. May. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Joyce. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. First item for new business, public hearing on the application from Trey Cooper for a replat. Their proposed replat will create one lot from two lots, the lots being 0.3210 acre tract of land, CB 5682F, block 2, lot 25, CHCB 101, commonly known as 118 Shalimar Drive, Castle Hills, Texas, and a 0.3247 acre tract of land, CB 5682F, block 2, lot 26, CHCB 101, commonly known as 120 Shalimar Drive, Castle Hills, Texas. It is 6:33 and we're going to open the public hearing. Just a second, we'll have you on the next agenda item. If there's nobody here for the public hearing, we'll close it at 6:33 and go into item 6.2, discussion and possible action on an application from Trey Cooper for a replat. The proposed replat will create one lot from two lots, the lots being a 0.3210 acre tract of land, CB 5682F, block 2, lot 25, CHCB 101, commonly known as 118 Shalimar Drive, Castle Hills, Texas, and a 0.3247 acre tract of land, CB 5682F, block 2, lot 26, CHCB 101, commonly known as 120 Shalimar, Castle Hills, Texas. Okay, Mr. Cooper.
Good evening. Thanks for having me out. Pretty much y'all said it all. My wife and I own the lots at 120 and 118 Shalimar, looking to create one lot out of two. I'm here with my engineer, Scott Dye. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Council, do we have a
Mayor,
motion?
Mr. Zamora from Ardura, our city engineer's office, is here in case you have any questions. They had provided a letter of approval of the replat in the packet.
Okay, so we do have the approval from Ardura recommending the replat.
Yes, the letter's in the packet.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Rappel.
Mhm.
Do you have a motion, Mr. Isbrand or Mr. Isbrand? Question.
Just a question. Has there been any public comment either for or against this?
We've received none. We sent out letters, probably, how many letters? I think it's in the case worksheet, but I think about 50 letters within 500 feet, and we've not received any comment or any letters with the comments returned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isbrand. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Paul. A second by Mr. May. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Passed. Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. Thank y'all for being here with us tonight. I'm going to change the agenda up just a little bit so we can get Mr. Shearhart out of here promptly. We're going to go into, let me read the agenda item. A discussion on a status of lawsuit styled Sylvia Gonzalez versus City of Castle Hills et al. Civil action number 520 CV-1151 and possible action, possible executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071 consultation with attorney. It is Tuesday, November 29th at 6:34, and we will be entering into executive session.
Yes, sir. I like your. Sure.
Long time no see. Brother Joe, how are you? Oh, lovely Thanksgiving. Oh, I was a pretty good guy in the evening spot. I did lay around. Okay. So went to Houston.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
I had this Michael got to see.
Oh.
Maybe I misunderstood. So I have.
And all that ring. That.
It did, but it's only really high quality. Because we got it. So how about the Israel? We had a.
So what has to be changed? Oh, and you're absolutely right. I'm not the one that made the motion. Yeah. So who should it? It is. Okay. So do I have to? Okay. We already approved that. Right.
I'm sorry.
So do I have to go back and, we're done? Okay, all right. Okay.
Frank, we require your autograph.
That's okay. At least you didn't get on the fire alarm.
Great. Justification is done.
I'll send you those now. Maybe that's like. Oh, yeah, that's, it's just. Yeah, no, no. Yeah, I broke it down. I showed structure, impervious cover percentage, surface contours. General drainage. I try to make it easy. Yeah, I hope so. It's about time so much that, right? Thank you so much. But you know, that was just like, you didn't say, oh, what I heard. No, you can't. So the ordinance has, we got to respond. And this covers a lot of stuff. It's just, you know, I use, I'm not, I was asking you to justify your drainage proposal. I already. Oops. The original deal written show a difference, difference between something else. Yeah. So this is just, so just give us a percentage and we'll decide. Yeah, right. You see, different people look at it. Oh, you're increasing your purchase, so you. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, okay, all right. So we're gonna change, put it in English, all right? Got it. See you there.
Yeah, I mean, when you actively want to, you really don't feel like you yeah, you get like the tax bill and everything. Good one, yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, the red box? Oh, like 2042.
But the reason I told the story, you said, CB radio, one of my CD friends, and then his brother, they had CB radio, and no, let it get on, the CB radio, so you talk to the brother, you go, you say, yeah, hold on, you talk to the so we say,
Yeah.
what I think. What's your hand?
Appreciate it. I'm hanging around. Oh, that is. Oh, yeah, they come and be a couple of them. Okay, so they have. No, they have, there's different brokers that can be with what it is. Yeah, I got his, usual, he got to do it. Those are two, those two are known as two plus. Yeah, you. But the code office is going to have duplex, duplex 400. So you can have the same kind of credit, which is what. But if anybody wants to do it, or put a name on it, it's a lot of they're gonna have to.
Today, I think we have. Those things stuff, like y'all. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, right there.
The turbo that. We'll have to, right now, it's kind of. You know, the business owners, they kind of be in the, I don't know if you have, I don't know if my competition is going to come in, but there's. I can't tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the strip.
No, the one on Brooklyn Cemetery, or the like smoothie thing, yeah. Bungee there, bungee.
The game place we wanted to, Anthony, I don't think one of. Good. Yeah. One not, kilo. And then they have like great ride. Yeah, they're over here. Yeah. Well, we do now, but one, it's never. Wine. Is that the one where the Starbucks trees? There was a problem about that being stressed. Yeah.
So what was gonna?
They're really, they're relocated there. They're in the process, but there's. Can't tell. We've already.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, that, I don't know, that, I wanted to get the other side of that.
So it's still in the process. They're having. There's probably. It's not off the table. They have prosecutions about it. This is the potential of that. The competitor of coming.
That was, that's the way it was one.
You're not gonna set about reading. And we got it. So yeah, I mean, that's people really. You know, everybody.
What about some like young people, like young gamers who be here? Like, I mean, then if you tell me, like, you know, how, I know, but like 5 minutes away, like, gold, you know, versus like having to like, technology that far away still, right? But like, that's. Yeah, I mean, you run it, yeah.
That actually be 514. There's no way. Oh, inside. Yeah. Well, just outside. Literally just outside. Literally.
I know I don't know.
All right, we'll get out of here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely right now is cheap. Yeah, I guess like actually it's my the course I take is the imperialist game between Russia and Britain. And so it costs all these Islamic nations. And so I'm fascinated, just fascinated. So I'd like to see just a little piece of it.
Yeah,
Just
no
all of
kidding.
this.
Oh, yeah, that's the kind of, what's the go-to sport? There's some pushback on that now.
Well, I think we're stopped. I hadn't gotten anywhere yet.
So far, yeah, that's good for him.
Okay, thank you for joining us back here. It is 6:57 on November 20. Can you hear me? Brian? Louis, the audio is not working?
Oh, I get
Mr. Rapley, we're having IT issues.
The mics aren't working.
Hello, hello.
Okay, now we're back in business. It is 6:58 and we are back from executive session with no action taken. 6:58 Tuesday, November 29th, to be correct, with no action taken. And we will proceed to item 6.3. Actually, you know what? Let me switch it around so we can help out Mr. Zamora here. 6.4, discussion and possible action on authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Ardura Group, Inc. to design full depth reconstruction on various streets in Castle Hills and authorizing the city manager to sign such a contract. This is actually in regards to the recent bond that passed. And while we have not received the dollars, this will allow us to start the program so that we're not wasting any time. And our engineers, our city engineers can put together the work and we can still go through the financing portion of the recertification of our credit and all that. Mr. Rapley?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Ardura provided the proposal here for the design of all the, I believe the 12 streets with the total cost of design, bid and construction phases, total dollars. If you recall, Ardura did the design for both phase 1 and phase 2 for us as our city engineers. And again, as the mayor mentioned, we wanted to be proactive, get the ball rolling on the design. So when we do have the funds in hand, we can go back and do a reimbursement resolution for this, but then also be ready to move forward with bids at the time. And so we can continue these street projects.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Mr. Isbrand?
Mayor, council, I'd move that we enter into a contract with Ardura Group Incorporated to design full depth reconstruction on various streets in Castle Hills and authorize the city manager to sign such contract.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Isbrand. A second by Mr. May. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Paul?
How, Mr. Rapley, how have we compared the cost of this versus others? Have we had bids? Have we, is it fall in line with what we did in our phase 1 part?
Exactly, sir. It's all exactly with 1 and 2 that if you recall, we had RPS do the design for the drainage portions and we had Ardura do the design for the street reconstruction. And so this is just a continuation of them moving forward for the design and street reconstruction. As far as the cost, this is actually slightly less than both of the combined cost of streets 1 and 2 engineering costs for that. Because 1 and 2 total was about 440,000 for the 12 to 13 streets that we did there. And this actually is more streets in length, my understanding, and it's a total of 380,000.
Right.
And again, I know that the question came up too from the mayor about that we're authorized. I authorized myself as city manager to go out for engineers, but right now this keeps us moving with this project. And we put the RFQs out that all the engineers currently we have or any that want to do work for the city will have to submit. But this doesn't delay us on moving forward with the design.
Well, the other engineers that we have now, do they haven't done these streets, but
the streets we did before, prior to the phase 1 and 2? Have we used them or asked them for bids? Or I just want to make sure that we making sure of the dollars spent, that we know where we are, and in comparison to what they may be out there doing the things.
The only way is asking one of our other engineers to look at the same scope and see a cost. But again, like I said, we had RPS doing the drainage work for the previous CO projects. But I felt, again, we fall in line with the same engineer who did the street reconstruction for phase 1 and 2 at a slightly lower cost was the route to go. And we could still go out for RFQs for engineers. But I didn't want to delay it as well because the next council meeting will have Mr. Freeman here to talk about next steps and when we would actually be able to be issued the dollars as a result of the election.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mr. Zamora, for being here. Okay, bouncing back, we will proceed to 6.3, discussion and possible action to authorize additional funding of $35,000 to purchase a 100 kW generator for the fire station utilizing American Rescue Plan Act funds. Chief?
Mayor, council, city staff, as you see in your agenda packet, we had, or the council had approved the purchase of a generator for the fire station around, I guess, April or May of last year, shortly after the winter freeze. A vendor was chosen, and as of about a month and a half ago, this vendor that we had chosen is unable to provide or install the generator. That left us in a position where we started to have to look at other vendors of course, to get a generator, install a generator. In that process, there was also a question that was raised as far as the size of generator that was initially proposed. It was a 48 kilowatt generator. It was actually a little bit undersized for what we had wanted for the department. The station is a 400 amp service with a 400 amp box that's on the inside. Talking with a couple of the vendors, a 48 kilowatt generator or even a 60 kilowatt generator would be a little bit undersized to provide power for the entire fire station, which of course is what we wanted. If we would have had that generator put in, it actually would have required us to either have it run at maximum output, which is something that you don't want to do, or we would actually have to start shutting circuits off. So we started also looking at a larger generator, another 100 kilowatt generator, which is what is being installed for City Hall. And the vendor that we are looking at using actually has a 100 kilowatt generator available that was canceled by a previous vendor. By a previous customer. Currently, the wait time for generators are anywhere between 48 weeks to 70 weeks. So literally we would have to, if we started over from scratch, we would have to wait until next year or possibly the beginning of next year, winter, before we would ever even see the generator installed. So unfortunately, also with the way the financial climate is in the country right now, the cost, of course, is more now than what it would have been when we actually approved for a generator last year. That in turn has made us have to request this additional funds for the project. We had set aside $30,000 for the original generator, which of course was a smaller generator. This one will be $73,000 to have it installed. Now, we are saving a little bit of money because this generator will be a diesel generator and not a natural gas generator. It was going to be an additional $8,000 that we had set aside for the installation of the gas line and everything. Since it's going to be diesel, we won't have to use that, and we can apply that money back towards the diesel generator that we're asking for. The other thing, since this generator is on hand, the vendor said that they should have it in and running before, hopefully by the end of this December or the first couple of weeks of January. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Isbrand.
So the generator that was installed for City Hall is 100 kilowatt?
Yes, it's not installed yet, but
Or
that,
that's coming?
yes, sir.
that's
They,
coming.
yeah, actually, they were going to install it last week and they ran into some issues. So, but yes, sir, it is 100 kilowatt.
And what was the price that we paid for that?
I'd have to go back and look. I do believe it was about 60. I think the quote. that
Close
we had
to.
received.
Around 60 and then
It was 65, 68, somewhere around there.
including installation?
Yes, sir.
So really, it's relatively speaking, if it was around 68 and this is 73, it's a negligible.
Yes, sir. When I was talking, actually the same vendor possibly could have gotten a 60 kilowatt generator for the fire station. And there was only a $5,000 difference between the 60 kilowatt and the 100 kilowatt that we would like to get purchased.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this since right after the big freeze. We know that we've been hamstrung by the lack of availability and then to get installation done. And this is, in a way, this is kind of like a gift here for the possibility of getting this in place, getting the appropriate size generator and getting it in place by the time we hit the height of
Yes.
winter here. So.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And council, the generator cost, the cost of the generator was, I think in the transfer that we did from the ARPA in this current budget of the 297, I think 50 some thousand was designated to that for that City Hall generator. And the current one previous was 30,000 out of seed, out of this current budget. So we'd be adding the expense of 35,000 taken from the ARPA as well to get the 100 KW at the fire station.
And we're still recouping some funds from TDM, from the winter freeze itself, and also from COVID, there's also some funds. So we do have some other funds that are still coming in that can help maybe offset this additional cost.
Ms. Daines?
I was just going to ask, the original vendor, did they offer any other solutions besides, sorry, we can't help you?
Yeah, we're not really in contact with them any longer. So that's a continuing issue.
Mr. May?
I had a couple of questions. What is the lifespan anticipation for this generator?
I would say 20 years at least. The one that is currently for City Hall that only runs dispatch and part of the police department. That one's in 1985 and it's still running. It's the brand that we're looking at is a very reputable brand. Many San Antonio Fire Department, Balcones, there's other fire departments that use this brand. And there has not been any issues that I know of.
I realize that this is Texas and not Europe.
Yes.
But do you have any concerns about the availability of diesel since most of the world's going away from diesel?
Not at this time, no, sir. I think any fuel source that we are using, there's been concerns. I know during the freeze, there was concerns for natural gas because they said the electricity on the grid wasn't able to run the pumps to pump the natural gas. But you also have the problem with propane and diesel of getting the trucks out on the road to deliver. My plan is later on down the road with if the funds are available, is to actually have another reserve tank of about 250 gallons of diesel. So we have that reserve in case, we're looking at running for 100 KW to run the fire station, you're probably looking at about 3 to 4 days or 5 days, depending on the output that it's having to do for the tank that comes with the generator. And so an additional 250 gallons would give us at least another 4 to 5 days running time.
And that was my next question. What will an additional tank cost?
That we are reviewing, because again, this is something that we would like to see later on, not actually, since we're having to come up with additional funds for this generator. I think this is something that we can plan on at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
And then that was an identified item in the emergency management committee was to get the reserve tank on site for fire and public works during any type of incident or emergency management.
Mr. Paul?
These funds that we're using, some of them have timelines, don't they, Mr. Rapley? That they have to be used by, and I don't mean the seed fund, I'm talking about the emergency fund.
I think from an ARPA standpoint, they wanted to make sure we have everything kind of program or
Right.
idea of what we're going to spend sometime next year, but
I
think-
guess where I'm going, if the funds are there, and I realize, and it's, I'm going to say this, anybody who's listening out there, make sure this is not coming out of our operating budget, our operating fund. This is coming out of these special funds. They're specific for these type of projects that have to be used. We can't take it and fix streets with this money and things like that, or we'd be talking something else. So where I'm going with this is I think you need to run a dual process and go ahead and start looking at what a reserve tank would be. Doesn't mean we got to move on it, but let's find out. And if the funds are there and we have to get those funds spent, that might be one, or a reserve tank also for here, or whatever we have needs for City Hall, for operations, for the police, for you. I think we need to move on parallel course while you're doing the other to see what we can get done and what it will take, because we're going to spend the money somewhere sometime because there's restrictions on them.
Yes, sir. And I know that, the city
Yeah.
and has other items that, they're looking at for those funds too. So those, we are coming up with those
Yeah.
items.
And it's already obvious that they aren't going to give us a raise, so we might as well use it for.
Well, I think, Mr. Paul, what we'll do is next month we'll have our budget amendment item. We'll have another agenda item for considering of ARPA funds. I think maybe a couple months from that point, maybe earlier in the new year, we can have an agenda item to cover all of our ARPA expenses and see what we still have available. And then moving forward to next year's budget, we can start itemizing what we want to spend the rest of the ARPA money on.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Ms. Daines?
So that reminded me, will this generator be able to, or be used to also run the Public Works building?
No, at this time, no, it is not set up for that. It
Is
would only-
is there a generator that runs backup for Public Works? Mr. Rapp?
No, not right now, but the Public Works was identified as getting a generator at some point for that building, so. But as Chief said, again, the one that was sort of the priority, and I know, again, we have to operate the fire department, be able to open the bays. But this one, since it's was built in the 80s, was of urgency, especially after the last winter storm, to make sure the whole building here has power for days.
Mr. Isbrand?
Mayor and council, I'd move that we authorize the additional funding of $35,000 to purchase a 100 kilowatt generator for the fire station utilizing ARPA funds.
Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
second it.
Thank you, Mr. Isbrand. We have a second by Mr. Joyce. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Chief.
council.
Mayor, real quick on that item, I wanted to make sure that it was brought in front of council, that I just didn't have the individual authority to expense that. And since it is ARPA related, that there was clear transparency on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Okay, next up, we have announcements by mayor and council members on items of community interest. Mr. Isbrand. Mr. Paul. Mr. May. Mr. Joyce.
I do have one. Yes, we are very excited to present the draft comprehensive plan Monday evening, this coming Monday evening, the 5th at 7 p.m. We would send cards out to everybody, so we'll be glad to see as many as can come. We hope everybody can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Ms. Daines.
Yes, but I'm trying to find the exact right time. But this Sunday, we are doing the lighting of the lights in the Commons for the Christmas lights. And I hope everyone will show up. I think they're doing hot chocolate and cookies, and there might be special visitors. Is that correct?
That's what I understand.
That's what I understand as well. So I hope everybody comes out.
And I
Isn't it
believe it's
4:30 to 6:30?
4:30 to 6:30. Good. I was going to add that, and then I was also going to make a notice that I was at Clementine this weekend, and we had an international food and travel writer that was there reviewing. which I think is a huge accomplishment for our little city to have an international writer there. And she was very happy with the service and food that she received at Clementine. So congratulations to them for that. Mr. Rapley?
I'm good, Mayor. I just thank y'all for coming tonight and having this special meeting. I was trying to obviously bring down the length of the regular council meeting in December as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. May,
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
we have a second. Ms. Daines, all in favor? Unanimous. It's 7:17. Meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you for being here with us.